So, who plays video games? A lot of people. Cool. Who used to play video games? A lot of people. Great. Who has wanted to become a game developer at some point of his life? Me too. Great. A lot of people. So, Pavel Kolev made his dream come true by hosting his own indie game studio. He's going to talk a little about that today. So please welcome Pavel Kolev. Where is he? Woo!
For the Horde! No one? Really? For the Alliance! Is Warcraft that old already? Okay. Expecto Patronum! Okay, a few laughs. What else? Winter is coming. Yeah? One guy? No one watches Game of Thrones? Okay. What's famous now? That thing from, what was it? Fortnite. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that at this point you're asking yourself, what is this weird guy doing on the stage wearing a helmet and a two-hand sword? And what is this thing around his neck? And yeah, I'm pretty sure that you will not remember most of the things that I'm about to tell you, but you will definitely remember that at HackConf 2018, there was this weird-looking guy wearing a helmet and a two-hand sword, which is actually a real replica of Ned Stark's sword. It weighs 10 pounds. It's really heavy. And yeah, it's really useful to have a sword nowadays. It can be used for a lot of things. Like, you know, you can... I don't have my slides. Where are my slides? What the bloody hell happened? Okay. Okay, it's really useful to have a sword. It can be used for a lot of things, like to measure up. It's too fast. Like to measure a baby. So for example, this baby is half a sword in height. So the other thing you can do is to cut a cake, for example, or you can use it, it's clicking twice. Why? Or you can use it on purpose. Yeah, so my point here is that imagine me being dressed up like that, going to, let's say, Comic-Con. There is so many weirdos out there dressed up like that no one will notice me. But here on HackConf, you will probably remember that weird guy. And this is the first lesson. Find a way to stand out and be memorable. So give me a second just to get rid of those things. Cool. And my mic is, it's working. Let me try why the clicker is not working. Oh, it's working now. Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Pavel Kolev. I'm a CEO of Rebellious Software, where we create games and we want to empower the players. Our current game is called World of Myths. It's a collectible card game, and we will talk a little bit about it in the course of this presentation. So you're a fresh graduate, you have always dreamed to create games. Now is your chance to do it, and I have one really simple advice for you. My clicker is not working. Don't. I cannot express how hard this is, especially if you're coming from Bulgaria. And especially if you're coming from Sofia and you're working in Sofia. It's so hard to do it just because there is a limited knowledge here in Eastern Europe, especially in Bulgaria, about how to create games, how to market games, how to create the perfect target audience, etc., etc. So it's like playing Dark Souls on hardest mode without a keyboard, or just trying to survive life on the hardest mode. It's like being the ugly guy, the short, fat, ugly guy trying to date the hot chick. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Kudos to those who get the last reference. So, But let's say you're really dedicated and you really want to start your indie studio. How can you do that? Well, it's actually really easy. You need to do three things. First, you need to have a working clicker. That's the fourth thing. But first, you need to find a warrior. The second thing, you need to give him money. It costs about 300 level, 300 or 400 level, depends on the warrior you find. And then you go on a queue in the national registry and register your indie studio. That's it. 3 simple steps. You have a studio, the talk is done, and yeah. Starting your indie studio, how hard could it be? Well, it's actually pretty easy. In Bulgaria, you need to have like 2 leva to invest in the studio, and you have the company figured out. And that's why I decided to switch a little bit the topic of the talk, and we'll talk about not starting your indie studio, but surviving as indie studio. This is the hard part. The starting is quite easy. So just a small clarification before we start the actual talk on who is this talk targeting. And I'm borrowing this slide from a guy called Jason De La Rocca. He's an amazing guy in the gaming industry. There are a lot of presentations online by him. Go check them out. So basically, he is dividing the people in the industry in 4 quadrants based on their vision, so the games they want to create, and based on their commercial intent. So basically, do you want to make money from the games? And based on that, there are 4 types of people. The first type are the sellouts. So basically, you really want to work in the gaming industry, but you're not creative, you have no idea how to invent something new, and you just create games for someone else. So you work for hire, something like a services company. The second guys are the starving artists. Those are the guys who have a vision, who invented some cool game, but have no idea how to make a profit of it and how to make it a commercial product of their own. Or they don't want to do it. They just want to experiment, send the game to 1 or 2 of their friends, and that's all. And the guys that we're about to talk are the independent entrepreneurs. So those are the guys, probably some of you, who have the vision, they have the idea of what they want to do, and they want to do it commercially. They want to make a living of it. And in the 4th quadrant, we won't talk about those guys. They are just lost. They don't have vision. They don't have commercial intent. They just, I don't know what they're doing with their life. So, you're just a fresh graduate from university where you have learned to program, and you know HTML, and you know CSS, and you have learned algebra and geometry, and you have been promised that those will be really useful in your daily tasks. And you have learned Haskell for greater good. And yeah, you're really ready to get into the game development. And you have teamed up with your colleague who also knows how to program with HTML and CSS. And he's slightly better than you because his HTML validates on the W3C website. And that's why you think he's better than you. So the first thing you need to do is to find the right team. So many companies, by the way, this will be a list of 10 things or 10 steps you need to do. So you will know where am I in the presentation. And also each of these could be a hugely discussed topic. So I will not dive deep into most of the things, just mention some of the things in the topics. So the team, it's really, really important. I have made a talk on the first HackConf. It's on YouTube. You can go check it out. But basically, most of the company fails because they don't have the right team in place. The perfect team for indie studio startup is around 4 to 5 people, of which 2 or 3 will be developers, 1 or 2 will be illustrators or designers or whatever, and definitely 1 guy to do the business and marketing stuff. If you don't have those guys in place, find them. You might be thinking, oh yeah, that's cool. We don't know anyone who can draw or something like that. We will do pixel art because it's trending now and it's easy to do. No, it isn't. You have no idea how hard it is to make a good pixel art that the players will like. So don't think like that. Try to find the graphic guy. So where can you find those people if you're missing them? And it's really important to have those guys in place. We will get in a minute why is that important. So most of you here are probably developers, I might guess, but if you need to find a fellow developer, the good places to look for to team up with someone are like the Telerik Academy or the Softuni forums or the or the famous DevBG group. But yeah, don't go there. Don't go there. You need to be really, 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 really desperate to go in DevBG and look for advice. But there are a lot of crazy people there, and someone might actually like your idea, so give it a shot. And the other thing you might need are the designers or the illustrators, the artists who will create the visuals for your game. And you might think that there is a group on Facebook called Artists Bulgaria or Graphical Designers Sofia or something like that. And we have spent 1 year looking for those guys or more, and we had no connections. And at the end, it turns out that they're in a group called Wacom BG Group. Everyone is there. So if you need someone to do something graphical for you or illustration or something like that, just go to that group, pitch your idea for a game or whatever you're trying to do, and probably there will be some other crazy guys who wants to do the thing with you. Okay, you have go on Facebook, you have find your perfect team members for your idea. You have 5 team members now, and you notice that I didn't mention the business guy because there is no one in Bulgaria who knows how to create games. And I mean on entry level, a guy like you who is just entering. Those things are not learned at university. So you have to get someone who is willing to be trained in that business and marketing of games and spend his whole time learning how to do those things. So yeah, you can't find those guys. You need to create them. So you have teamed up and you are ready to create your game. No. The next thing you need to do, and it might sound boring, but it's really important, is to have a vision of where you want your company to go, what kind of games you want to create. And it might be some marketing sentence that you put on your website. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the core values that you want to have for your team. And it's really important because this way you can unite your team for common goals. You can start creating your games based on your vision, on what you believe, and all your actions should be because of your vision, should be inspired by your vision and the way you want your company to go. And later, this will transfer to your players. And I'm not saying that you should tell them that cool-looking marketing sentence, we are doing these games and they're really good, come play with us. No. Every action you take should be inspired by your vision and your common goal. And there are a couple of ways you can approach this. One of those is the famous Golden Circle by Simon Sinek. There are a lot of videos on YouTube. You can learn more about it. And the other is the more traditional approach to have a vision and a mission statement. But definitely try to unite your team around those two and then transfer that to the players. And the second thing I recommend for reading is The Art of Start by Guy Kawasaki. He's an amazing guy, former Apple chief of something, it doesn't matter anymore, but he's amazing. He has videos on YouTube as well, so check that out as well if you are lost on your vision. And okay, you have a team, you know what kind of games you want to do, you think you know where the industry is going with your vision, and you go to your first meeting with some guy from the industry abroad. And he starts talking with a lot of terms like, what's your CPC? What's your DAU? What's your K factor? How do you plan to increase your LTV? And things like that. And you're like, man, I speak Bulgarian and English. What are those words? Are you speaking in Spanish? What the fuck? And this is something that happened to us. On our first meeting, the guy used so many terms from the gaming industry that we were totally lost. We didn't know most of the things that he was saying to us, and it was like, psh. And there are a hell of a lot of terms and abbreviations in the gaming industry. There, if you just Google it, the first articles are like a short list of 217 short terms in the used in the gaming industry. You can get lost there, but you need to know what are those. You need to know why, what do they do, and you need to be aware of them so you can have a meaningful conversation with someone from the industry. Okay, you have the team, you have the vision, you have learned all the terms, you are ready. You wake up in the morning, you go to your computer, you sit down, you reach your hand to grab your coffee, and because what we do, developers, is turning coffee into code. You all know that. And there's no coffee. And you start thinking, oh, why the hell there's no coffee? Oh, I didn't bought one. Why didn't I bought one? Because, oh, I don't have money. Yeah, that's why. So to survive and pay bills and things like that and be indie developers, you need funding. You need money. I think some of you might try to do it by their own. It's really hard. I won't go to the full chart, but just say a word about the first part, which are the triple F. Those are friends, family, and fools. Those are the people who are your friends, and they believe in you, and they believe that you can do some things, or they really don't care. They're just willing to give you some money and get rid of you. And yeah, just here are 1000 level, go play yourself or something like that. And yeah, this is the first place you will look for money and then move to the other guys. So actually, where can you find those guys and where can you find money? There are three main sources you can use. The first one are the VCs and the angels from the previous slide. The other guys are the publishers. We will talk about them. And the last part are the Kickstarters or the crowdfunding sources like Ficco or Indiegogo or whatever. So just a couple of things about Kickstarter. If you think you can use it to get some money, and you're ready, you have heard of some games that have raised millions of dollars and they're doing well with their Kickstarter campaign, and you will create your Kickstarter campaign, please don't. Kickstarter doesn't work like that anymore. It used to be really cool for digital games to fundraise. It's not anymore. Currently, the three types of games that can get funded on Kickstarter are physical games, so the users get something physical to remember or whatever. The second type are games created by some famous guy, like Exploding Kittens. And the third type are the games that are already working, existing. The players can try them out, and basically, those companies are using Kickstarter for marketing campaigns. And nowadays, Kickstarter is used mostly for that, marketing campaign. If you rely on Kickstarter to get money and you're just getting started and you're not someone famous, you will probably fail. And here is the other part that we are from Bulgaria, and it's hell of a lot crazy and hard to get money on Kickstarter. You need to have someone in the US with TIN or something, their social security number to start the campaign, and then he need to hire you and send you the money, and or you need to create a daughter company in the US. It's crazy. Don't. Publishers, what do? Anyone have a clue? Okay. What publishers do is you create your game, you have no idea how to market it, you just give it to a publisher and he do all the hard part for you. So he markets the game, he gives you some advice on how to tune it and improve it so it can get more money from it and things like that. So basically, if you're new to the gaming industry, your best approach is to find a publisher. Why? Because you can learn from him. You can learn how to market your game, you can learn and see how he is doing things, and you can just do the coding, the things that you're good at. So the publishers are a good option for new starting companies. VCs and publishers, what are the differences between them? Basically, the VCs and the angels invest in your company, and the publishers invest in the project. So the VCs, they don't give a shit about your game and how cool it is, and how on level 18 you can double jump and fire with your arms backwards or things like that. They don't care about your current project. The things that they care about is your company, is your team, and your vision. Recently, we had a 1-hour meeting with a well-known VC, actually the only VC in Europe that invests only in games. And for that 1 hour, they didn't ask a single question about our current project or the game or whatever. The only questions they asked us for 1 hour was about our team and our vision. Nothing else. They didn't care about our current project. And we will get about why is that in a second. The next difference, the VCs get equity from your company, and the publisher get a revenue share, and that can get crazy. We're talking about 30 to 70% here. So imagine having a huge hit on the market and sharing that revenue with a publisher. So you should have that in mind when contacting publishers. The next part, the VCs get board control, the publisher get IP control. So you might be thinking, okay, for our first game, we will work with that publisher, and we will learn how to do things, and then we will move to our next game, and we will use the same war from the first game and the same mechanics. No, the publisher usually gets the IP or the intellectual property control. So he has for like 10 years or 15, depending on your negotiating skills, he has full IP control. So you cannot use it, or you can use it but use the same publisher. And if you're not happy with that publisher, you're screwed up. Nowadays, most of the publishers are willing to negotiate on the IP control, so have that in mind. The VCs, on the other hand, they became part of your company, so they make the decisions alongside you. One simple thing you can do when considering whether you want to contact a publisher or a VC is how good you think your game is. If it will have a linear revenue growth, then go with a publisher. If it has an exponential potential, definitely go with a VC. Imagine League of Legends, Riot, going with a publisher for League of Legends. You won't have seen all the crazy, good-looking videos and animations and things like that just because the publisher would have taken 70% or 50 or whatever of their revenue, and they wouldn't have money to do those videos. And this is a cool example of exponential growth for a game. Basically, the way you can go here is it's not like set in stone, but if your game is free to play, and can grow to 1 billion of users or something like that, go with a VC. If your game is a premium game, so the users pay for it and have a copy of the game and things like that, that's the premium games, go for a linear, you will probably have a linear growth on the revenue. And as I mentioned earlier, the VCs, they care about the team. The publishers, they care about the game because they will need to market that game. They will need to know every single detail and know the cool mechanics and plans that you have for the game. So the VCs are look for the team, the publisher look for the game. Okay, so let's say that you have found some money. And by the way, this is one of the reasons I said that it's really hard to be indie developer in Bulgaria, because as I said, we don't have the knowledge here, and the local VCs don't want to invest in gaming companies because the knowledge is not here. They don't want to waste their money on someone who might fail because there is no knowledge how to market that game. And the VCs abroad, they don't want to invest in you because they don't know you. Who are you? You're coming from Eastern Europe. Oh, I will invest my money in someone from Finland because the gaming industry there is blossoming, and I will probably have a higher chance to make money there than from someone in Bulgaria. They don't care how a good programmer you are. They just care about, are there people who could execute what they're talking about? And yeah, it's really hard to fundraise. So you have the funding somehow with the friends and fools and families, and you have the team gathered, and you start creating your first game. Now let's talk about game design, or how can you create your game. There are three main approaches that you can take. You can do a reskin. So take a successful game, just change the images and things like that. And yeah, how many Candy Crush copies are there on the market? Hell a lot. And yeah, it's not that most of them are not successful, it's just boring. I hope that no one will do that from the audience. The next thing you can do is invent. So create a totally new genre, a totally new game, and market it properly, that everyone fell in love with it. And this is really hard to do. There are really small amount really not so many companies that can afford to do that. Those are companies with a lot of experience. They know how to promote a genre in a game. And imagine how many new genres do we get a year in the gaming industry. It's really hard to do that. So don't try to invent new genres. And the third thing, the thing you can do is use the +1 game design. So it basically says, get a successful game that is currently on the market, change one thing about it, and create the next big hit. And the industry, even the well-known companies, are using this because it's simple, it works. When the people are bored already with the current game they are playing, they change one thing and get the new hit. So just a small example in the MOBA genre. First it started with Warcraft, and a map was created, Defense of the Oceans, or Dota, which later Riot changed one thing, created a separate game, not a map of Warcraft, created League of Legends, and added the progress of the players. We are skipping some steps and get to the Heroes of the Storm. They have changed one thing. They have changed the battles to be more focused on the team efforts, and they added objectives on the map that are really interesting and different. And other genres, the card games genres, the genre that we are working on. There was Magic the Gathering, which was physical card game. There still is Magic the Gathering. Then Hearthstone created a digital version of it. Then Shadowverse changed one thing. They added a Wolf mechanic to the minions. And then the next step is, of course, World of Myths, where we are changing just one thing. We are changing the battle system of the card games. Okay, let's say that you have the team, you have the vision, you know the terms, you have the funding, you are already creating your game, and you're ready to work. And you start working, and you think, man, this will take 1.5 years to make. Please don't do that. Fail fast. No one has succeeded with his first game. No one. It should take you about 2 to 3 months to iterate on a game. Most of the successful companies have failed 12 times before coming up with a successful title. And this is probably the hardest lesson to learn. You think, oh, but I have a bug here, I need to improve the visuals before releasing. No, no one cares about that. Iterate fast. Your game, if it's good enough, it will be played with a little bugs here or there, but iterate fast. It was really hard for us to learn that lesson as well. And those guys, the VCs with the monies, one of the things that they require and what they're looking at is if you fail fast enough. If it took you 6 months to realize that one game will not work, you have already failed. And while doing your game, you should consider 3 things and always have those in mind. How would you acquire users to play your game? How would you retain those users to come the next day and the day after and the week after? And how would you monetize those players? If you just think, well, we'll create a shop and we will add some items there and they will buy those items or things like that, it will not work. You need to have those features, let's call them, the user acquisition, the retention, and the monetization in place in the game from day one. And you should have those by the 3rd month. Or you should at least have a decent idea how they will work. If you don't have them, you will probably fail. And we will see some examples later. So you have the game, you started working, and the next lesson that we have learned the hard way is, when do you start to talk about your game? We started talking about our game too late. You should start talking about your game from day one. The moment you have the idea, go talk with your friends about it, spread the word about your game. Best chance, you will get a good feedback. Worst chance, someone will tell you, this game sucks, I won't play it. And you will just move to the next idea. It is really, really important to start talking about your game as soon as possible. Yeah, but the visuals are not final, and I haven't thought about the 23rd level. No, no one will care. If your game is engaging enough, continue working on it. If you get a mixed feedback, change something or move to the next game. And here the part is that you should know what is exciting about your game. Most of the guys in the gaming industry, or especially the indies, think that they know what is special about their game, what is the hook about of their game. But they don't. They totally mix it up. Even we, after 2 years of development, we are still experimenting with our hook, something to make the man you're talking with react, whoa. And then you should have a kicker to make him, oh, tell me more about it. So it's really important to have that one sentence, to find out one sentence that can hook the person you're talking with to make him ask more questions about your game. And some examples for a hook. Descenders. Descenders is extreme downhill free riding. That's the hook. And you have the player, huh. And then you tell him, through procedurally generated worlds, the kicker. And at that point he asks, how does that work? And those guys took them again as well a lot of time to figure out that kicker and that hook. And first they were going with extreme procedural free riding. And no one understood that. That's the sentence on the image. That's their previous hook. And most of the guys were, okay, cool, I don't care. But if you start with the senders is extreme downhill free riding, that through procedurally generated worlds, you can get some better reactions. For us, the current hook we are using is World of Myths is a card game where the units don't attack each other. They attack as a group and defend as a group. How does that work? And we start a conversation, tell the people more about our game. We're targeting people who know how to play card games. So it's quite important. The next thing you definitely need to do are events. If you have some marketing budget, spend that budget on events. It's really important for us in Bulgaria to, especially for anyone in Bulgaria to do that. And I'm talking about events abroad, gaming events abroad. And there are two types of events you can go to. One are the B2B or business to business. The other are B2C, business to customer events. And it's really important once you start to go to the B2B events and talk about your ideas, talk about your vision. And because there you will meet people from the industry, real people from the industry, who know how to do things, and they will give you feedback. Most of them are really open and will directly tell you, this is bullshit, don't do it. Or this is great, continue experimenting in that area and just do it. And some events that you can go to are the Reboot Develop, which is in Dubrovnik. If you're looking for really nice feedback in a more casual way, just go there and get the VIP ticket. You can meet people from the industry there on a lunch or on a walk or something like that. Definitely do that. The other event you can go is the Nordic Games. If you're looking for funding, go there. They have a one-day event, Game Dev Summit, Game Capital Summit, where you pitch your company in front of all the VCs, basically, all the VCs from Europe, and then they give you feedback about what you're doing. So it's an amazing opportunity to be there. And Casual Connect, by the way, there is a Casual Connect in 2 weeks in Belgrade in Serbia for anyone interested. Basically, if you're at a point where you need to market your games, all the guys, especially in the mobile sector, that are good at marketing are at Casual Connect. And those events will give you the knowledge that we're missing here in Bulgaria. You need to look for it, but still, those are the places. And once you have your game, then is the time to move to user conferences where all the players are. And the largest one in Europe is Gamescom in Germany with about 500,000 people attending each year. So it's huge. If it's time to promote your game, this is the place. And about the validation of your game. As I said, you should start as early as possible and you should test everything. You should test the art. For example, we thought that the art on the right, the full-size art, will be more appealing. Then we tested with another approach and saw that people like more the second version. So we switched to that art style. And most of the social platforms now, they provide you with tools to do A/B testing. So get idea which one is better. Test your core game loop. This is really, really important. Strip out your game from all the visuals, all the details and things like that, create it with just squares and boxes and things like that, and try if it is engaging enough. If your core game loop is not engaging enough, this is the thing that the players will do repeatedly. It doesn't matter how good your visuals are, it doesn't matter how good your sound is, no one will play the game. So test your core game loop, be sure to have the best core game loop possible. And test your target audience. You might think that your target are some American fat guys staying all day on their computers, but in fact, you might find out that someone in Papua New Guinea is willing to play more your game. So test the target audience as well. At some point, you will need to build a community for your game. And it's a no-brainer here. Create a Discord server. Invite people there, talk about your game, share ideas with them, get feedback about the game and your plans. This is currently the best way to build a community. Have an open Discord server where you can do the communication. And because I believe in delivering more than expected, in delivering more, I have gathered information from local companies, Bulgarian gaming companies, who have failed, and share your thoughts. The first company is Triad Games, and this is what Hristo Nechev is saying. Scavenger duos had very good engagement and decent retention numbers, but our monetization was around 30 cents per user. With user acquisition cost of $3.50, there is no business potential in such product. So basically what is he's saying, the user acquisition cost is not high. Usually it's between $3 and $10 for games like this. So this is the cost you pay to get someone install and play your game. It might sound like a huge number, but this is the reality. So what he's basically saying is that they have failed with the monetization. Do you remember the 3 things I told you? You should think about user acquisition, user retention, and monetization. You should always have those in mind. They have failed with trying to get the money from the players. The next example is Hristo Nechev from Rebellious Software, and he's saying, we wanted to create something really amazing that required more resources than we had. That delayed the release of the game and affected its success. So basically, what he's trying to say is, we didn't have the team in place to execute our vision. That's why I talked so much about the team and how important it is. And the third one are Chobo apps. How many of you have heard about Chobo apps? Okay, not so many. Basically, Chobo apps are a Bulgarian gaming company. They have raised between $8 and $10 million for their company and their game Mayhem. And you can say that they have failed. And what they're saying is, we had a niche game where players monetize like a casual users. So what he's saying is, despite having the right team, having the funding, they have failed to create a good monetization plan. So that's again another example why I so emphasized on the 3 points. Yeah. Thank you very much. Sorry for taking so long. Whew.